I found this brass object in a shop in Bristol, United Kingdom. There's a pin that folds out from the side, but that's all I know about it. I'm really curious to find out what it might have been used for. This brass object is a demolition detonator key and spike, a compact tool once used by miners and military engineers to arm and fire explosive charges. The folding spike was pushed into a stick of dynamite to make a clean opening for a detonator, and the notched key on the opposite end was used to lock a blasting cap into place or to operate a blasting machine. Its brass construction was intentional, since brass will not spark when struck against rock or metal, which made the tool much safer to use around volatile explosives. Tools of this kind appeared in the early 20th century as industries like mining and quarrying expanded and the need for safer blasting equipment grew. In coal mines, only a certified shot firer or pit deputy was allowed to carry the key because it was the final step needed to fire a charge. I saw this hanging in the window of my local hardware store in upstate New York. It looks like it's made of cast iron. I have no idea what it was used for. Does anyone know what this thing is? What you've found is a holivala, more commonly known today as a Lewis lifting device. This tool was used by stonemasons to lift heavy stone blocks. The three pieces are inserted together in a hole drilled into the stone, and when the central wedge is hoisted upon it, wedges the packing pieces out so tightly against the sides of the hole as to enable the stone to be lifted. The design goes back to ancient Greece and Rome, where it revolutionized the way monumental structures were built. The Romans used holivalas extensively in their temples, aqueducts, and fortifications, and the technique carried on through the Middle Ages and into the Renaissance. By the early 20th century, engineers in the United States were still improving the design. Philip Netto patented an enhanced version in 1908 that introduced pivoting jaws for an even stronger grip. I found this item at a thrift store, and there were several others just like it in the same box, possibly in different sizes. It looks like it was part of some kind of machine or device. Does anyone know what this is? This is a type element from an IBM Cylindrical typewriter, often called a golf ball because of its rounded shape and raised characters. Introduced in 1961, the Cylindrical revolutionized office typing by replacing the traditional type bar mechanism with a single rotating and tilting print head. This made typing faster, eliminated jams, and allowed users to change fonts just by swapping out the ball. The concept behind this innovation was developed by IBM engineers in the 1950s and patented as a single-element printing head. Although the early design was met with skepticism from IBM leadership, the mechanism became the centerpiece of the Cylindrical typewriter, which quickly became a staple in American offices. A friend found this metal object in the woods, and I haven't seen it in person, but I'm wondering if it could be military. It looks like some kind of cylindrical device with metal fins, maybe part of a flare or something similar. This is a military parachute flare, most likely a United States M127A1 or a similar NATO-issued illumination device. These flares were designed to be launched by hand, shoot into the sky like a small rocket, and then deploy a parachute to suspend a burning flare overhead. Their purpose was to illuminate large areas during night operations or to send visual signals, and similar models have been widely used by armed forces since the mid-20th century. These flares are not harmless. Even decades after manufacture, they may still contain live propellant or ignition charges. There have been documented cases where similar devices ignited unexpectedly when handled. I found this strange plastic tool in my grandmother's house. It's about 8 inches long. When you pull back on the narrow end, a spring-loaded mechanism pushes out a bunch of small needles from the larger end. Does anyone know what this is? This is a modern replica of a 19th century medical device called the Lebenswecker, or Life Awakener, invented by German mechanic Karl Baunscheidt in the 1840s. The original version was a sleek tool with an ebony handle, fitted with about 30 fine spring-loaded needles that punctured the skin to create tiny wounds. These punctures were then treated with a special irritant oil to provoke redness, swelling, and blisters. Baunscheidt claimed this process could draw out bad fluids and cure a wide range of diseases from rheumatism and asthma to mental disorders. His inspiration came from an odd personal experience. He once felt relief from his arthritis after being bitten by mosquitoes, which led him to develop a mechanical device that mimicked the sensation and supposed benefits of insect stings. Marketed as a universal remedy, the Lebenswecker quickly gained popularity across Europe and North America. Although Baunscheidt never held a medical license, he successfully patented versions of the device in the United States and in the United Kingdom. However, by the early 1900s, the Lebenswecker's reputation began to unravel. Courts started prosecuting unlicensed practitioners in scientific medicine, gradually exposed the treatment as ineffective and potentially dangerous. I found 2 of these tools left behind in an office. They're about the length of an ink pen and only open to about an inch. The person who worked there was a communications director and also a hobby photographer. Does anyone know what this tool is? What you've found is a pad counter, a specialized tool used in printing and binding to divide large stacks of paper into evenly sized pads. The flat metal blade is inserted into the edge of a paper ream to separate a specific number of sheets, often guided by an adjustable depth gauge. These tools became common in the early 20th century, especially in commercial print shops and copy centers. The design has barely changed over the decades. Most models feature a wooden handle, a metal spade blade, and an adjustable L-shaped bar that sets the depth. My dad found this in the trash at his school. He works in the physics department, and a colleague was cleaning out storage and didn't know what it was either. It has 2 levers that can be pushed down, and it looks like some kind of heavy-duty press. Does anyone know what this machine is? This is a vintage belt lacer press, also known as a flat belt splicing machine. Its primary purpose was to join the ends of flat leather transmission belts by pressing a row of wire hooks into both ends. A metal pin would then be inserted through the hooks to create a flexible, hinged joint. This simple mechanical splice made belt repairs faster and far more reliable than older hand-laced methods. These belts were commonly used to transfer power in factories, mills, and agricultural equipment before the widespread use of electric motors. The design you're looking at likely dates from the early 20th century and may have been manufactured by the Clipper Belt Lacer Company, one of the most influential names in this field. Their system was originally developed in the 1900s and quickly gained popularity for its efficiency. I found this set of black plastic pieces while cleaning out a friend's shed. Each one has a unique outer shape with bumps and is labeled with red letters or numbers. Does anyone know what these are? What you found is a set of vintage sewing machine pattern cams, also known as stitch cams. These small plastic inserts were used in mid-20th century sewing machines to control decorative stitching. When placed into compatible machines, each cam guided the needle or fabric feed in a unique pattern, producing zigzags, scallops, arrowheads, and more. These cams reached peak popularity in the 1950s and 1960s. They were often sold as part of the machine package with brands like Singer, Kenmore, and Brother. My landlord found this heavy metal object in the basement. It looks like it might have had a wooden handle at some point, but this is all that's left. Does anyone know what this thing is? What you found is a vintage soldering iron, most likely from the late 19th or early 20th century. It was used to join metal parts by heating a soft alloy called solder until it melted and flowed between 2 metal surfaces. This type of tool was used by tinsmiths, plumbers, and metalworkers before electric soldering irons were invented. Craftsmen often kept several irons heating at once, rotating them during big jobs like repairing roofs, sealing lead pipes, or building tinware. Many believe that this is where the expression, "too many irons in the fire," comes from. I found these tiny jars filled with colored liquid while biking near the F1 track in Montreal. They're smaller than my thumb, and I saw crates full of them. Does anyone know what this is? These tiny glass vials are used in Chinese Lantern Festival sculptures. They are filled with colored water, sealed, and then attached to a metal frame to create glowing figures such as dragons, peacocks, or flowers. This technique began in the 1960s in Zhejiang, China, when festival artisans started repurposing discarded medicine bottles for lantern displays. Over time, the method became one of the city's signature innovations and later spread worldwide as Chinese lantern festivals expanded to North America and Europe. I saw this strange plastic dome structure while boating along the Trent-Severn waterway. It's sitting right on the shoreline, and none of my friends could figure out what it is. Does anyone know what it is? This is a Sky Shed pod, which stands for Personal Observatory Dome. It's a prefabricated plastic dome designed for amateur astronomers who want a dedicated place to keep and use their telescopes. The structure opens at the top and rotates, allowing users to observe the night sky while staying shielded from wind, light, and the elements. The Sky Shed pod was invented in Canada in the mid-2000s by Wayne Parker, a rock musician turned astronomy enthusiast. His goal was to make observatory domes affordable and practical for hobbyists. The dome's design was patented in 2011 and has since been adopted by thousands of backyard astronomers in over 30 countries. I saw this strange object at a brewery, and I think it might be some kind of game, but I'm not sure. There's a lever on the bottom right and a latch in the corner that looks like it could open the box. I even asked the waitstaff, but nobody had any idea what it was. This is a vintage Japanese pachinko machine, a mechanical arcade game that became incredibly popular in Japan during the mid-20th century. At first glance, it looks like a vertical pinball machine, but instead of using just one ball, pachinko operates with dozens of small steel balls. Players shoot the balls into the machine and watch them bounce through a maze of pins, hoping they'll land in special pockets that trigger a payout. I found this in an antique store, and it was hanging together with other old cooking items. The two cups at the end are scalloped like a cupcake liner. Does anyone know what it is? This is a vintage rosette and timbale iron, a kitchen tool used to fry thin batter into delicate pastries. The molds are heated in hot oil, dipped briefly into a light batter, then returned to the oil until the batter forms crisp little cups that are typically filled with sweet or savory mixtures. Tools like this were especially common in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, and many families used them to create festive treats for Christmas or community gatherings. I found this piece hanging off the front bumper of my Audi. There's another identical one still attached on the right side. Does anyone know what this part is? What you've found is a deer whistle, a small device that mounts to a vehicle's front bumper. As the car moves, air flows through the whistle and produces a high-pitched tone, often ultrasonic. The idea is that the sound encourages animals to stay off the roadway, potentially reducing collisions. These whistles first became popular in the late 1970s and 1980s. Many states with high deer populations saw them adopted by drivers, and at one point, even some police fleets experimented with them. I keep seeing these colorful, spiky, ball-shaped objects on bus stops across London, and they appear in many different colors in my area. I'm really curious about what they are. These are handmade street art pieces known as spudniks. Each one is made from a real potato that has been pierced with brightly colored cocktail sticks. They serve no practical purpose. They are simply playful art installations placed on top of bus shelters to surprise people riding on the upper deck of London's double-decker buses. The artist behind them is widely believed to be an anonymous street artist known as No-Nose. He began placing these potatoes around East London in the mid-2000s, mainly in Hackney and Shoreditch, and the idea quickly became a small local legend. I found this strange green object inside my sister's acoustic guitar. It's curved and full of holes. Does anyone know what this thing is? What you've found is a dampit, a small humidifier designed for acoustic string instruments like guitars and violins. It's shaped like a flexible green tube with tiny holes and a sponge inside. It's placed inside the instrument to release moisture gradually, helping prevent the wood from drying out and cracking. This helps maintain the instrument's structural integrity, especially during dry winter months or in low humidity climates. The dampit was invented in the 1960s by Ralph Hollander, a professional violinist who created it after his valuable instrument developed a crack from dryness. Hollander patented the device in 1966, and it quickly gained popularity among musicians around the world. In the last video, I asked you to guess what this metal tool might have been used for. Everyone had great guesses, and many of you got it right. This item is a saw rest, used to bend saw teeth very slightly left and right after sharpening. Thank you to everyone who participated and shared your guesses. A special shout out to DSD Kane for being the first to correctly identify it. Alright, it's time for another mystery item. Take a look at this metal tool with a soft plastic handle. What do you think it might be used for? Leave your guesses in the comments, and I'll reveal the answer in the next video. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Your support motivates me to create more videos. See you next time.